You're listening to Nothing's Off the Table, the podcast where no subject is too taboo to discuss. Now, please welcome your hosts, Andy Barker and Lou Del Pree. Hey, you're muted again.
That was awesome. I always have. But that was awesome. I saw the roll. That was really
Nice.
cool.
Cool. Yeah, we're trying going to try a few new things tonight. See how it goes.
The money's been rolling in from our sponsors. We've upped our graphics. I can't cash the checks fast enough.
Or answer the emails.
Hence I'm still watching VHS.
Well, it's Friday night. It's time for another glorious episode of Nothing's Off the Table. Unfortunately, we don't have a guest tonight, so you're stuck with just listening to us. But Lou, man, this freaking game, man. It's so addicting, you know.
I hear you.
But we'll talk more about that in a minute because, you know, I think we should probably just dive.
I love that graphic. That's awesome, right? So like you said, we paid for it so you don't have to. Steve Day Show, Tuesday, 21 January 25, hour 1, talked about the flurry of executive orders and how for the first time it feels like we are finally on. I'm wearing my bifocals. If you can, normally I have the radio ones. Anyway, for the first time we are finally on offense, right? Many will be challenged, but the sheer magnitude of leadership displayed was epic and too much to combat all at once. You know, so some will definitely slip through. And this is what winning looks like. I mean, they did go through a litany. There was a ton of stuff that he signed. And I think what you saw was a lot of talk on a lot of the shows about how, you know, we might have seen a brand new precedent, right? Executive orders signed immediately upon completion of the inaugural parade. You know, that was done publicly and in front of people where normally these things are done, you know, behind closed doors, right? Jeff Fisher's show on 22 January. I must have miskeyed. I see 21. I see 2W. So 22 January 25. Parts of gold medal, Paris gold medals are rusting. Paris gold medals are rusting. So apparently, when they issued the gold medals, they coated them with some type of coating because of the way the salt and the air or whatever, I don't know. But that is actually causing the medals to rust now. So some people are complaining like, hey, what the heck? And they don't have a solution right now. But yeah, so if you won gold, go check your medal. Human Events with Jack Posobiec, 22 January as well, discussed the illegal crossings and reminded everyone. And it always, the first time I heard this was Mark Levin. So this is not a new saying, but he brought it up again. And it's a great saying. Remember, we're not a nation of immigrants. We're a nation of citizens.
That's
finally
true.
Friday. I'm sorry, Thursday, Steve Day Show again. They went through top 10 Bible verses you will not hear preached at in a woke church. And the number 10 was Galatians chapter 50, verse 12, I think. When they talked about how the religious leaders at the time were saying, you know, the removal of the foreskin is the sign that you are a blessed one to enter heaven. And Paul is telling them, if just removing a little bit of skin gets you in heaven, why not cut the whole thing off, brother, and fly through the gates, right? Like, why stop there, man?
Right?
He's like, if all it is deeds, if you don't have to, you know, behave or open your heart, you know, then, hey, man, don't stop there. Take it all, baby. Yeah, and then they went through about 9 more. They were really good, and you definitely wouldn't hear them preached in a woke church.
Some of us can't afford to take more than just that little foreskin.
No, you got to keep the cap on just to get some distance.
That's right.
I understand, man. Hey, man, especially when you deploy in cold weather, it gets hard. But anyway, you know, the rest of the stuff, as you know, President Trump was elected. A lot of things were regarding the inauguration. So that was all we had for the wrap. Look forward to next week when there's a lot more news happening and a lot more impact from what we saw this week.
I'm going to throw you a bone a little bit. One of the stories you talked about is going to line up perfectly with the I ain't buying it segment.
That's awesome.
But and ladies and gentlemen, we didn't plan this in advance.
We don't.
In fact, I even asked Lou if he wanted to read what I'm going to present to you all tonight in advance, and he's like, "No, I want to be surprised just like everybody else." So, I don't know, man. I haven't heard anything either way on whether it's good or bad, but I'm kind of digging that segment, that new segment.
Oh yeah, man. People like it. The numbers pop for you, man, when you put them clips up.
It's fun and
Yeah, I
it's
love
fun,
hearing it.
I gotta tell you about this stupid game, man. This game that you've gotten me into. It's a really cool
Milsim.
game. Yeah, the Milsim. It's a really cool game. I like playing it. I'm not very good at it, but what I'm fascinated, I'm really enjoying, man, more than anything is getting in and meeting these guys and the camaraderie. Uh, just the talking shit like we used to do, man. It's I found it again. It's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
So
It's fun. There's, the cool thing is, um, like you say, the camaraderie, but there's, it's like any community. You join the community, you build up your reputation, and you build up your core group, and then it expands from there. But the cool thing is, it happens quickly, with the
yeah.
reach that you have, and that those groups build fast, and people come in and out, and many more stay than go out, and your circle of influence expands. And I
Mhm.
think what you're alluding to is it's really nice to be talking in a group again of people who appreciate your experience and that you gain something from their youth and enthusiasm as well, you know?
See, I couldn't have said it any better. I couldn't have said it otherwise I would have. But yeah, no, you're spot on, man. Um, but yeah, it's and you know what? There's a chance, a slight chance to do a little mentoring there as well. Um, I've already had a couple folks ask if they could speak to me offline. So yeah, it's cool, man. I'm digging it. But should we just go ahead and I don't remember if we let the cat out of the bag yet or not.
Not yet. I wouldn't yet, but what I will say, to piggyback off of what you're saying down the road a little further, times are changing. And I know we talk about a game and people are like, these two old men talking about a game and linking up, right? I mean, I would say though, probably 60% of the time is spent shooting the breeze.
If not
40% is
more.
spent wandering around, trying to figure out where the hell these things are to shoot.
Right.
But um but beyond that, right? I was having a conversation with somebody with two same topic, two different people. One person gave me an answer that started with, you know, on the internet. And I was like, please, please, please tell me you're citing the internet. Please, right? Like as we were arguing, like, and I was being sarcastic, like, please,
Mhm.
please, 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 please tell me you're citing the internet for a fact. Please say that. Please say I saw on the internet, right? Trying to minimize what they were saying. Talking to another friend of mine, I'm telling the story, and he stops me. He's older than me. You guys are probably same age. He stops me, and he says, well, where the hell do you get your information from? He said, no one's going to the library anymore. And I was like, oh shit, he's right. I do look a lot at the internet. Now, I do still go to the library, but I get what he's saying.
Yeah.
This generation isn't going.
Right.
you know, but yeah, I do go. That's, I do still go to the library. I do still get some books. I do still try to go verify things that I read on the internet and other places. In fact, I just picked up two old copies of two books that I felt might get edited in the future. But one is The Origin of Species by Darwin, so I have one of the original printings, or a reprint, but of the
Right.
original. Right? They didn't edit. There's no edits or anything, or no abridged.
No
And I picked up
wokeness.
2 years before the mast.
Mm.
The professor that sailed because he said there were only books from officers and
Huh.
people who travel, but there was never a book written by somebody who served before the mast. So he just lowered his
Wow.
status, went and served, and then wrote a book on what it's like to be a seaman.
That's boim.
Yeah, in the 1800s. So anyway, I think that'll be interesting to see too, because they do edit out. I mean, even when I was on the Constitution, we had already edited out history to avoid public scorn.
Oh my
We
god.
changed the names of items. We don't tell certain stories, just out of fear that the public wouldn't understand. You know,
Speaking of books, yours should be there by Monday.
was it Amazon?
Yes.
Might be here now.
No, I checked.
Oh, okay.
It's been printed. It hasn't been. It should be shipped out tonight, probably.
No, no worries. But
But
yeah, so back to that game, back to the internet. Um, but you bring up a great point. But so for people who look out here that are older like us, and you're like a game, this is ridiculous, this is absurd. I thought so too. I thought so too. Until I got in there and I was like, what the hell is going on here, man? Like this is crazy. And then and it was funny. I my first time playing the game, it's called Armor Reforger. It's a military simulation. I find a server that says 3rd Marine Raider Battalion. I was like, wait a minute, I was in that unit. Hold on. So I go in there and I drop in and yeah, I'm old, man. I thought maybe there were Raiders playing. I don't know why, but I was like, yeah,
right.
maybe I'll run into like some buddies, right? I don't know. That's what I'm thinking. No, none of it. No, I'm the only one, right? I'm the only one who's there. Everyone else is, pretty chill. There's a lot of people who serve, but there's a ton of civilians too who are just there for the experience,
Yeah.
right? And everything is a one-to-one, right? So there's no like jet packs or there's no nobody's like sliding or jumping over roofs or anything. It's very one-to-one. You work tactics, it's large groups, you go on convoys, they have mission briefings. It's the wildest thing. Um and civilians love it, man. They love it. And the military guys come in like us and, they're asking questions and we love answering. And like Andy said, man, it's like being in, it's passing your knowledge on to people. And as long as you're not ridiculous, I mean, people, people are drinking it up, man. There
Oh
are
yeah.
some ridiculous people on there, man. I've heard some stories, man. I've heard some whoppers.
Oh yeah. SEAL Team 6 Delta Platoon Special Forces fire team.
Oh man, I'm telling you, man. It's you get some whoppers in there, but whatever, man. I'm not. Hey, look, I'm there. I'm there for my own reasons. I'm not there
That's
to
right.
crack on anyone or do anything.
No,
Right. But we have a good time, man. We have a really good time. We spend a lot of hours there, and Andy and I are working on a project that we're hoping to bring more people on board in a way that it's and I because Andy I think can talk more on this, but the game is a lot of fun, but the first few days are pretty intense, right? I mean, it's like
yeah.
there's a big learning curve.
It's very frustrating at first. Hell, it's still frustrating. But I mean, I think I've been playing for a couple weeks now, and I'm finally starting to catch on to some things. But like you said, tactics are tactics, right? And it really works. It works in real life, and it works in the game. Um,
Yes,
it's
yes,
it's
that's
just
the
fun.
crazy part. Like you do what you were taught, and you start catching these guys everywhere.
Yep.
You're like, wow, this stuff works. And it's just
That,
funny to talk to we have some younger active duty guys that are still in. We were talking to some younger Marines the other night,
mhm.
and it's funny to hear them, it's funny to how you drop back into that mode and you tell a joke real quick and then they come right back. You're like good to go, stand by, and they're like, good to go. Like,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
never. Very well.
Right.
Like, got the clipboard, son. They're just messing around, just to have those jokes and having fun. All that stuff that you miss, it's there. And I'll tell you what, there's a lot of if you're active duty, there's a lot of young kids out there that would love to hear from you. They'd love to play with you. They'd love to have fun. It's called Armor Reforger. It's on every platform, including computer. Um, and like I
What's
said,
up,
it's just a
Billy?
great time. Andy?
It's yeah. Again, I'm finding having more fun just with the camaraderie, the shooting the shit, the busting balls, and the game's fun. Don't get me wrong. Once you get past the frustration of learning what you're supposed to do, um, yeah, it is fun, but I get more enjoyment out of the other. Um,
Oh yeah.
I I love man, and there are some dudes on there that are way too serious and way too into it. Um, and those are the ones I actually have the most fun with.
I call them the box Nazis. There's guys. Yeah, for those of you that you know, you can get your kit, right? And I know it sounds crazy, but we have an 80s kit, and then if you play on what they call a modded server, everything you had while you were in, they have. You can look just like you did in real life, or you could add to it, you know, but it's all gear that's today. You know, stuff you could have today. In fact, they were talking about they had the new Viper EOTech site you could put on,
Damn,
um, all
that's
kinds of stuff for
crazy.
what yeah, it's crazy, that's why I say, you know, I it's the funniest thing in the world, you know, and then there's a Discord with it, but, they have the vector bag, and I put the picture of my actual vector bag in the Discord, and, like, dude's like, "You wanna sell that?" I'm like, "No, but I'm just saying that's real." Like, I'm telling like, do you see the design of the bag in the game? And when I showed the real bag, it is down to the finest detail. Like, where the US stamp is where the US stamp is. You could see where the internal frames are when the person puts it on. Um they show, you know, tops of the frames that would stick out, like, if it were on for real. So I was showing, you know, I was able to show people in the game and show them in real life. You know, like, see that giant screw there on the back? That's how you adjust the back. It's like, it's right there. See, it's all real. Like, this or simulation, right? Not real, but,
The graphics are
yeah,
great.
exactly. Yeah, your knowledge, like Andy says, your knowledge of the actual product, how it actually works. You know, these guys would love to hear. Love to.
Definitely. Eat it up, man. Oh my god, they would just, be like little puppies on the teat
Yeah.
of their mama.
And then they have and then it's a two-way street, right? I mean, I'm over here playing with these guys and I'm like, "Oh shit," you know, like something happened on my computer. They're like, here, click there, move here, go there. How's it now? Oh man, I hear everything. Yep, there you go.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, if I emailed them right now, "Hey, I'm having trouble with something." You know, one of them would come back and say, "Log in, share your screen. Let me see."
Yeah. It's a great group of people. There's some turds floating around,
Yeah,
but,
oh
you know,
yeah,
it's
yeah,
a
anywhere.
10% rule, 10% rule, but,
Anywhere.
it's and like you were saying, with the one-to-one, the weapons are very realistic. If you're not aiming right, you're not hitting nothing, you know?
No.
Um, you
And you
definitely have
even have
to
to adjust up to in the rain.
right? You know, they say, "If it ain't raining, we ain't training."
That's right. That's right. I remember I remember being on the range. Somebody's like, "Hey, it's raining. Do I need to adjust up one?" He was like, "No, 2." But you know, me being young and not knowing anything, I,
You
like, look
did?
over and the guy's like 'cause I'm like, "Seriously?" He's like,
Right, so you basic have to have a you have to have a basic fundamental of shooting principles in real life to shoot in the game as well.
"Yeah, it's
Because if you
it yes.
site acquisition, it's it's just awesome, man. I'm digging it.
Weather affects everything." Um,
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, like, when you're driving, weather affects, you know, the conditions.
They have helicopters you can fly.
Oh, you get on some of these servers and they're in, you know, because like when you die, you go back to your base or whatever, or different bases, but they got people flying you into the combat. Like it's crazy. It's like they'll pick up groups of people. That's how large these maps are. They'll pick up people and fly you in, drop you off a hot drop on the roof. Where do you want it? They'll be asking you. Hot drop on the roof. You want it in a field? Where do you want to go? What do you want to do?
It's
And they'll
cool.
fly you in, J hook, drop you right on. I mean, these pilots. Andy's flying now. Andy's learning how to fly. He'll tell you.
It's hard, man. It's not easy. But I think that's like I was telling you, that's what I think I like about it the most. It's the challenge. It's challenging. So, but I think that's enough about the game. But I wanted to talk a little bit about it because we've got some new listeners and some folks that said they're going to be checking out the show, and those are the new guys, and they're a lot of fun. And feel free to call in. The number's already posted there in the chat. So call in if you want to take part in the show. I'll pay you a quarter if you do.
That's
Got to get with HR to get that approval first, but Anyway, Donald Trump, man, let's talk about a little politics going on with.
yeah.
He's a different president this time.
Yeah, the guy. I mean, the guy is definitely on the move. I mean, you could tell. It's almost like I heard somebody say earlier. It's almost a blessing we didn't get Trump in 2020. He would not have been this effective.
I agree.
He would not. So having 4 years off to think it through, build your team, get going. I mean, just the volume and the amount of fronts that this man attacked them on. And somebody was pointing out like Steve Dace was talking about it today. After they talked about the 10, or no, it was yesterday, it was the 10 Bible verse. But they talked about it today in his first segment, the Dace group, how it's not stopping. Right? Like not only did he hit them with executive orders, but he hit them with Gulf of America. And then you had Ron DeSantis come right back with weather reports in Florida talking about Gulf of America. Right? Like you have people changing Gulf of America. Then he hit the World Economic Forum saying America will be a sovereign nation again. Who was that to? Who did he say that to?
Right.
We are closing our borders and America will be a sovereign nation again. He was very clear to the WEF. We are lowering taxes. And if you manufacture in America, we'll hook you up. If you make it somewhere else, you're getting tariffed. We're shutting the borders down.
I've noticed that even some of the mainstream media now is actually kind of backing off on a lot of the rhetoric.
Well, like they said, he's hitting them on so many fronts. And what you heard Aaron say on the Day Show, the producer, one of the producers, oh god, it was on the tip of my tongue and I lost it. But he had chimed in with something about they're being hit on so many fronts. They just don't. It feels like, he said it feels like for the first time, Democrats have to wait to see what happens with the policies in order to know their talking points. Like they're on defense, right? Like they've always been prepped, always, but whatever. But they're quiet because they have to wait and see now. They don't know what to do.
As much as I hate to say this, we actually, what you said with the blessing of not being 2020, I agree with. But unfortunately, we actually needed Biden to bring us to. We needed to hit rock bottom, and we needed Biden to do that for us. And now, legitimately, there's nowhere to go but up.
Yeah.
And the country, the majority of the country, is on board with that. They're fed up with a lot of the crap. So perfect timing,
Hey, I do want to give us. I do. Hey, there was one thing I was thinking about talking about all the things I hear in the news and everything, and I do want to give one shout out to Keith Malinak over at the Pat Gray Show Unleashed. Man, that's a great show, and he produces over there, and he's got his own little thing going on the podcast, putting stuff out there. And I just want to say the only reason I don't throw you guys in the rap is because I know none of our audience is waking up at 7 a.m. Man, that ain't even worth it, man.
Right.
But we'll get you in there, man. I listen every morning. But go check them out. They're great over there. Pat Gray Unleashed and Keith Malinak producing over there, and then Jeff Fisher pops in every now and then.
So we got a lot of views and a couple comments from our guest last week, Professor
Yes.
Rodrigo.
What an amazing conversation, huh?
Yeah. Yes, and I guess you got some good news. He's agreed to come back.
He has agreed to come back. We're looking at end of February-ish, kind of. We wanted to have a little distance between times talking. Plus, we do have some people lined up in between. And he is going to come back, and then we're gonna focus more in on coming from Brazil to America. How do you come from Brazil to America and set up an academy? I do know part of the story just only because I train with him.
Mhm.
And every now and then, his first student comes around.
Really?
Wonderful. Yeah. Oh yeah. Wonderful guy. Wonderful guy. Just,
Wow.
older family, you know, but yeah, yeah. I'm familiar with I mean, just amazing, one of those, what am I gonna do? Start in the garage. I don't want to tell it, but he'll be back here to
Right.
tell it. But amazing, amazing guy. I was so happy to have him on. And so happy, to hear that he had a good time and enjoyed it.
Mhm. It's, it's so cool when you get a guest on like that that's just really excited, uh, to tell their story, and then, well, shit, we didn't have enough time, and agree to come back. And I know he will. It's not like we don't have many that wouldn't agree to come back. It's just I feel there's just more to his story.
Oh, yeah, for sure, man. And he'll never tell you. He will never tell you. And this is why I said in the beginning of last time why I love this man. Um, but I have seen him do things for students and take care of students that most people wouldn't. Most friends wouldn't do.
Mm,
And just whether it was letting people train for free or offering things or various other stuff that I've seen him do, helping people through hard times. I mean, he truly, um, one of the things we talked about when I took over his kids class was, he made sure I understood there's no bullying, of white belts, that we're a family academy, no punching, no kicking, no celebrating.
mhm.
This is a family academy with jujitsu and sports. Little kids 5 and 6 have fun. 7 and 8 develop fundamentals. 9 and above, it's time to learn the game of inches. You know? And
That's
so,
right.
you know what I mean? So he made it very clear. And so, and you can tell, I haven't been everywhere, but I feel like we have the strongest kids program in the area. We have over 20 kids on our mat every night.
Hmm.
Not every night. We only train 2 nights a week, but both those nights we have over 20 students, sometimes over 30.
Wow.
Um, it's winter, it's wrestling season. If you guys are familiar with Western Pennsylvania, Ohio area, you know, this area is known for producing, top collegiate um Olympic wrestlers. Kurt
Yeah.
Angle's from where I live.
That area is to wrestling what Texas is to football.
Right, exactly. So, a lot of guys like they do jujitsu, but the kids are in wrestling, right? So in the winter, but I'm still packing the mats. Like in the summer, it's huge. But in the winter, I'm still getting 20 to 30. That's why I pointed out, even with competing interests like wrestling.
It's awesome.
Um, but it's all his philosophy. I mean, it's all his techniques. It's his brand. I mean, we're affiliated with Marcelo Garcia Jiu Jitsu Association, like you talked about, and he's affiliated with Alliance Jiu Jitsu.
Mhm.
So the pedigree is there. But just a guy that wants people to learn jujitsu, get better, grow personally, and really like live the martial artist lifestyle, He's always on us about food and diet, man. I tell him all the time, I'd be effing up my training with like a pizza right now. Seriously.
What's up, Bear? It's well, I don't want to turn this into a jujitsu podcast because we very easily could. I love talking jujitsu, man.
Oh, I know.
And that's one of the other reasons why I definitely was happy to hear that. Not only is he coming back, but just the fact that he had such a good time doing it. So um,
Oh yeah.
we will have to talk him into turning that phone landscape next time. But
Oh man, yeah, yeah. I want his hat. He told us he was getting us hats, and then he was wearing a team hat. I forgot to tell him I want a team hat, man.
oh
I'll
man,
buy it. I don't care what it is. I want a team. I'm a hat guy, man.
well, I guess he ain't coming on the show till you get a hat then, huh?
No, I can't do that.
You can't. I can't.
We were teasing. I was joking with him, right? I told Andy this last night, right? I saw him last night. Because when kids class is over, the adults come in and he teaches adults, and so we kind of like high five on the way out. Sometimes I stay. I didn't stay last night, but I was telling him, when he comes back, I'm not going to give it away, I said, "But I wanna do something." And he said, "Okay." I said, "And the other thing I wanna do," I said, "And I wanna ask you a question I forgot to ask you. Do you you know, do you really weigh 190 pounds?" He goes he started laughing. He said, "When I told you I did," he said, "'cause his pressure is so intense, man." He used to tell us, like, "I weigh 190." We were like the big joke was, "No, it's gotta be 220. No way. No way. There's no way. There's no," but his pressure is so intense. And so when I said that, he smiled and laughed and said, "You know, it doesn't matter, man." He said, "It could be 150 gonna feel like that if he's a black belt."
Yeah.
I said,
I uh
yeah.
I wanna point out that the fight that we were supposed to talk about last time on the show happened today, and I'm pleased to say that, of course, Marcelo won, and I'm telling it now because,
That's
y-
right.
like Lou said, we're gonna have Professor back on in another month, and by then the fun of it will be gone at that point. Yeah, it's old news, is my point. But yeah,
Right.
Marcelo North South choke. He he beat Imanari, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think he called out Aoki.
Maybe. I mean, if they have something coming, I haven't seen the fight yet. I know he won. I have the link and I watched the interview. Did you see the interview?
No, I didn't see the interview.
Okay, so there's a really really wonderful interview with him talking about why he stepped away, how he won, why he stepped away and what brought him back.
Yeah.
Um and I don't want to spoil it, there's no it's nothing, nothing you're not going to be like, "Oh my god, I had no idea," right? Unless you were not aware,
Well,
he did beat cancer last
not a
year.
lot of people know that.
So he
Not a lot
yes,
of people, even in the community, even know that he had cancer.
so he was diagnosed and he kept it a little bit quiet and our academy's affiliated and like Rodrigo said, they are very very close and Rodrigo respects his privacy and when it went public, he let us know. Right? So when Marcelo said it was okay. So I knew a while back, about yeah, maybe 2 years ago. Um
Me too.
And, yeah, he beat it, and he's back. But, there were a couple other but there were some other things, that had come up and, in the interview that were just were just human
Mhm.
things that really just humanized him, and just really gave you an insight into the kinda athlete, competitor he is.
A-
Um,
As if
so
you
that was a great
needed.
interview that I watched. I enjoyed that, but I had to stop there, and my daughter was at her first, dance,
Oh
you know?
boy.
So
As if you needed another reason to like the guy. He's so down to earth, man. He's just a good dude all the way around. Not to mention on another level entirely in
he
jujitsu.
is so fast. He is so fast, and he's 41, 42. He said.
Yeah,
Um,
he's young, man.
I trained with him a couple months ago at a seminar he gave, to our school, where he taught the North South, start to finish, his takedown, how he maneuvers, and, hand fighting, and gave us a little bit of his philosophy, and then he finished with the North South. And, just to I'll give you one of the $20 tips. He said, "Do 1,000 north souths in no gi before you put the gi on. Then you'll know exactly where you are."
Wow. That's that's solid advice, man.
Yeah,
Um,
he said, "Do it
you
in no gi 1,000 times, then put the gi on, and you'll know exactly where you need to be."
you know what's amazing is that people like him that are so good at their craft, you've got these world class opponents that know what he's going to try and do, and they can't stop it.
No,
You know, uh, these guys
no,
like him, they typically have 1 to 2 moves that they have perfected, and you know it's coming, and you can't do a damn thing to stop it. And
nope.
you don't even get mad about it because you respect it, just how good he is.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
anyway, um,
Oh,
see,
yeah,
there I
we were
go.
talking about we were joking about you didn't talk about, like, you can't what's coming, you can't stop it. Like, we were talking about how, um sometimes the professor, right, he's rolling, but he's also, like, looking around, like, to offer tips and stuff, right? Yeah, and,
Right.
us students were talking about how we feel like it's such a demoralizing when he's like looking around and he lifts your arm up into the arm bar and then like he doesn't even really put the pressure, he just puts it in the place and then lets it go. Like, cause he's like, you know, like he would have tapped and then he just lets it's but it's like he's like
That that reminds me, man. I
and then
had
you start all
I
over, you know?
had one of my neighbors over, and we were I was teaching him jujitsu, and Liam was down in the basement watching us, right?
Mhm.
And I'm rolling with this guy, and now, granted, he's had maybe a month or two of class, so he's a beginner, right? And I feel it's important to point that out. But
Yeah.
Liam was asking me questions the whole time I'm rolling, right? And I'm holding an entire conversation with Liam. And when at the end of the round, he was so demoralized over that. He's like "Dude, you're not even breathing hard, and you had a whole conversation with your son while I'm sitting here dying." You know, it's
Yeah.
like
Yeah. Well, you know, it's just one of those things. I'll tell you what I'm learning as I'm teaching. Um, you know you did good when the professor turns it up, right?
yeah,
Like if you know, like if I pass his guard, he turns it up, you know, and takes back what I took, you know,
right.
or whatever, right? So a lot of times he just you know, and you can you know, I'm starting to get to where I can tell. A lot of times he lets me get past so he can work his escapes. You know what I mean? I
Yep,
mean, he's got to work his stuff too. So
that's right.
you know, he'll let me pass, and then he'll work his escape or whatever. You know, get his little practice in. Um, but now that I've been teaching at lunch, you know, it's been feeling really good hearing the guys like I went at night and I did okay. I lost to this guy, I lost to this guy, but you know what? For my first time, I beat this guy. You know, and then now, this last month, the guys I've been training have been with me for almost a year now.
Mhm.
Now I had to turn it up, man. Yesterday at
Yeah.
lunch, I almost I almost got smoked by my white belt. I was like, shit. Like, but he said the same thing. Oh man, that was awesome. I knew I did good as soon as you turned it up. And it really felt good, man. I felt like, oh man, you know, I'm glad you're learning, man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd love to teach in martial arts, man, and what you said about that is so true because when we went back to Virginia last, um, 2 years ago, um no, I'm sorry, I'm thinking of a different time. Anyway, there's a local place here. I went in and I was with the instructor, right? First first couple rolls with him, and, I swept him. I had a beautiful pendulum sweep, right? And I knew that he didn't give it to me because immediately afterwards, he choked me out 15 different ways, you know what I mean? But and when he said, "Hey, that was a great sweep," I knew
Yeah.
that he meant it, you know?
Right.
Uh,
Right.
so
Right.
I it jujitsu's a game of inches, man. You gotta take your victories an inch at a time. Um,
Yeah. And
other
that's what I told the guys, man. I was like, you know, when the dude was like, "Man, you turned it up, man. I had a real good thing." I said, "Yes, of course I did. I was in danger." You
Yeah,
know,
right.
very good. I said, and then we talk about. I'm like, "Yeah, man. Look, man. You know, if I'm gonna put my knee on your belly, it's because I don't like what you're doing,
Right.
and I want you to stop."
Yeah, exactly. I was, I loved seeing the excitement in my students' faces and their eyes when they got a throw on me, but believe it
Yeah.
or not, I think I was more excited and more happy that they got it.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. You know, like when they do it to me, exactly. Very good. You know, like I'm always like when I'm like always like very good pressure. Or like when they hold my shoulders down and I can't do anything, like they don't choke me, but I'm stuck.
Mhm.
And I'm just stuck there, man.
Like
Can't do
Chuck.
anything. Trying to move, trying to get, you know. Now I do tell my guys, and I think you'd agree with this philosophy. And I enforce it on them as well. It's the senior belt's duty to attack. I tell them it's his duty to attack. He has to give you the opportunity to move, work, or whatever. You know, so I
Mhm.
tell them senior belts can't just hold you inside control.
Right. No, oh, yeah.
They
Yeah,
can't
you're not
just sit.
learning anything.
It's your duty to attack. So
Mhm.
I stay on them about that. You know, you can't sit there, man. If you're sitting there longer than like 30 seconds and I notice it, so the other thing is I don't sit when I fight these guys because I want and so does it cause me to do sloppy things because I keep moving? You know what I mean? This is just my class. At night, it's not like that, right?
Mhm.
Um, But I just tell them, it's your duty because I want them to fight, right? I don't want somebody just sitting,
Right.
you know? And, because I'm moving faster than I normally would, does it cause sloppiness? Yeah, absolutely. But they have to learn to capitalize on that too,
Yeah.
you know? And as we get better, we'll have less and less guidelines as we fight. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like, that's just now because I don't want them sitting. I want the white belts moving. I want them shrimping. And I want these other guys, the blue belts and the one purple I have, I want him practicing attacking. Be
Yeah.
uncomfortable.
Do you guys do you start from the knees?
We do, yeah, at night they do a lot. In lunch, it depends on whatever the student wants. I got one guy that loves to start standing. I got, everybody else likes everyone else wants the knees. Sometimes they do standing, but mostly what it comes down to is mat space.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's why at lunch we can do it because there's only like 6 of us at most,
Mhm.
you know? But in the evening when they've got like 15, 16 people, it's you tend to travel.
Yeah. I totally get that in mat space, but I'm not a and this is just me. You can agree or disagree. It's not going to hurt my feelings either way. Uh, I don't like that philosophy of starting from the knees because you're never going to start there in a competition. You're never going to start there in real life if you have to defend yourself. So I think sometimes it gives a false sense of security. Um,
Oh yeah.
Plus, you got to know some takedowns.
Yeah, yeah, we do. So I teach 3 takedowns, right? Now I know more, but I leave the double legs to our D1 black belt.
Yeah.
And he's asked, not like, even though you have your jujitsu double leg, just leave that to me at the academy, because that's his thing. I'm like, hey man, I got no problems leaving it to you know what I mean? Because I'm terrible at it. And
Yeah.
single legs hurt my back. I'll be honest, like the single leg takedown hurts my back. And I always say, like, it's either I'm doing it wrong or I'm a pussy or both.
You
So single legs hurt my back. I don't like it. I like the collar drag. I like the guard pull, and I like this. It's more of a self defense takedown where you're grabbing from the waist, putting on, and then it's a little Horion trip that they have.
I
It's a
need to
very easy, very very simple defensive takedown. It's not a slam, but it puts you on top.
I need to show
It's
you a
very.
foot sweep, man.
What's up?
I need to show you a foot sweep. Foot sweeps were, you know how everybody has a favorite technique
Yeah.
that you're really good at? Foot sweeps are
Uh-huh.
mine. Um,
Yeah. I believe it, man. There's a nice, like I said, there's a nice one that Horion teaches in his Gracie Jiu Jitsu that I really like. So we do that one. But that's about it, man. Because I see people trying the leg. I'll be honest, I see people trying which one's the leg? Is it Osotogari, the leg trip?
yeah.
Yeah,
It
I've never seen that work in a competition.
I've hit it once or twice,
Yeah.
but
In how many competitions?
I'm also a judo black belt.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, that's what
so
I'm saying.
we
Like, in how many? And,
train.
and you've only hit it twice. You compete, man.
I, I normally don't. I normally don't go for it.
Right. But you see what I'm
It's
saying,
just
though? Everybody's always trying, and I never see it
yeah.
work. And I see people keep trying to practice it, and I'm like, well, okay, I guess. Now, a hint from Marcelo when we talked about foot sweeps. I demonstrated a foot sweep that I asked. I said, I saw you do this. I wanted to ask how you did it. He said, I don't remember that, but well, I had it on video, right? And he's like,
Oh,
well, I don't remember that. He goes, but I probably just did it. Like I probably saw, like he goes, that's not something I've trained.
it's
I probably
opportunity.
saw that, right? And that's why I did it. He said, but the root move, your leg doesn't have to be that deep. He said that's a common misconception. He said I learned over time, you don't have to go very deep on this stuff at all.
Yeah, that's why I like the foot sweeps
Yeah.
because you can catch them as they're stepping forward.
Mm.
You
He
don't even
had a
have to have
nice.
what's that?
He has a very nice like I don't know what to call it, man. He has a very nice shoot in, like, to a single leg,
Mhm.
but it's much different than, the traditional.
Yeah, it's
Like,
very
when he shoots, he
unorthodox.
stays there and pushes you over.
Yeah,
Um,
and I think that has a lot to do with, well, hell, I don't know. I'm not gonna say something stupid. Anything else stupid. I said enough stupid stuff. But
no, no
uh,
worries. But the one thing I'd like to say though about him real quickly, when you say like, people on another level, since we have the screen and you can see, um, when we were at the seminar, you know how you ask people to demonstrate, you're like, hey, I want you to grab, and they'll like be here and you're like, no, I want you to be like right here just for the purpose of demonstration, right? You'll just,
mhm,
you know what I'm saying? Like you adjust somebody.
yeah,
So he would be talking to us and he would tell the demonstrator, go ahead and put your hand on my shoulder. And then as he was over here talking, he can't see, but I noticed this several times. The person would be going to go touch him somewhere that was not where he wanted, right? He just said shoulder, but they
mhm.
were going like maybe the top when he meant back, right? Or whatever. This happened like 2 or 3 times. As the hand came, his shoulder was already moving out of the way. And then he would look and be like, oh, just right here. But that happened several times as he'd be talking and as the person moved to touch him, not where he said, he was already moving out of the way.
That's crazy.
It was insane. And
That's
then he would
crazy.
look and say, "No, just put it over here." Or his hand would go to this was the other thing that would happen too. He'd be looking over here and he would get it.
Yeah,
He just was
that's
it was like he knew what was in his space. He knew it was wrong.
another level, man.
That
God, that's awesome.
that's why when I saw that, man, I pointed it out to my partner and I said, "Look at that, man. I've had very few opportunities to see a master of their craft. That is it, man. When you're moving, when you're not looking and you're already moving, like you're already correcting on this guy's mistake and you're teaching.
Yeah,
You, you know what I'm saying? I mean,
it's
and
like
it,
the
it
old
was it was smooth, man. It was
it's like the
down
old
and
kung fu theater movies. You know,
oh, Shokosugi.
all of them. You know, the stereotypical master. You know, blindfolded, nose. It's just it's sick, man. It's sick on in a disgusting and in a great way at the same time.
Kung Fu the movie. The show is really cool. Kung Fu the movie. There's 2 movies, by the way. Kung Fu and Kung Fu 2 with Brandon Lee.
Hmm.
David Carradine and Brandon Lee. Kung Fu 2
Oh,
was the first movie I ever saw, my first exposure to David Carradine,
mhm.
because I was a Brandon Lee fan, and I was like, and then I went back and watched Kung Fu, and I was like, compared to Kung Fu 2, this kinda sucks, right? But, later on, I gained the appreciation for the original.
Yeah. I,
Watch the original. Wow! Like, I know it's all cinematography, but when you talk about, like, blind people doing shit, that movie is cool, man, and it's before camera tricks, so somebody was throwing it.
right.
They might have been off screen, but somebody was doing it. They didn't have the technology to do stuff like that,
That's right.
you know?
Um, look, we need to stop talking about the martial arts because we could it'd be a martial arts show essentially. But I am really excited. It's I do believe it's about that time. Uh-oh. That's right. It's time for my new favorite segment, the I ain't buying it segment. Anyway, it's like I said earlier, it's funny how you mentioned one of the stories that you mentioned, but without further ado, let's just get into it. And what one thing that happened this week. All right, folks, let's talk about the national prayer service that turned into, well, a sermon on woke ideology. Instead of focusing on unity or hope, we got a lecture from an Episcopal priestess, Mariann Budde, that was so steeped in one sided rhetoric, it's hard to take seriously. And that's where my issue lies. not with people having different opinions, but with the idea that one worldview gets to hijack a platform meant for national healing. Now, let's break this down. Bud uses her time at the pulpit to claim that LGBTQ individuals, including children, are now living in fear for their lives. Fear? Really? We're supposed to believe there's some mass existential threat to LGBTQ kids when the media, schools, and even corporate America go out of their way to cater to and celebrate them. If there's fear, it's being stoked by people like Bud who thrive on inflating threats that just don't match reality. And then there's her take on illegal immigrants. The classic, they're not criminals, they're just hardworking folks cleaning our offices and picking our crops. Now, I'm not denying that many immigrants, documented or not, work incredibly hard, but can we stop pretending that illegal immigration doesn't have real consequences? Drug trafficking, human smuggling, and economic strain on local communities are facts, not narratives. And yet, Bud and those like her want to sweep all of that under the rug while holding up an idealized version of reality that only exists in their minds. But here's what really gets me: the complete lack of accountability. This is the same woman who expressed outrage at Trump for standing in front of a burned church with a Bible, but had nothing to say about the fact that her own church was set on fire during a protest. A protest, mind you, that was cheered on by many of the same voices who claim to want healing and peace. And let's not forget Trump's executive order aimed at restoring biological truth in federal policy. Love him or hate him, at least he's standing up against the madness of gender ideology that denies basic biological facts. But on the other hand, doubles down on this idea. Even addressing these issues is somehow hateful. Now, here's the bottom line: woke culture isn't about justice or fairness. It's about controlling the narrative, shutting down dissent, and forcing everyone to buy into their exaggerated version of reality. It thrives on fear, outrage, and virtue signaling, while ignoring the real issues affecting everyday people. Well, I'm here to say enough is enough. I see through the nonsense and I'm calling it out for what it is. Woke culture might demand blind obedience, but Lou, I ain't buying it. There you have it. Oh, look.
I love it, man. I love it. I love it. I especially love the mention of the bishop, right? Please have pity on our chattel workers. Like naming
Wow.
all the garbage jobs. Like, oh
Oh
my god.
my
Anyway.
God.
Oh
Yeah.
man.
Guess what? Guess what I didn't look up this week.
Well, that's okay. Because Andy, if you're thinking about a charity for veterans, if you're not satisfied, if you want more for your dollar, then I'd say you need to give to Pinups for Vets. They're in every combat zone for every soldier's needs. Pinups for Vets has been around forever, helping soldiers' morale throughout deployments for generations now. And actually, it is military spouses who are posing in these tasteful 50s era pictures, keeping up the traditions of Rosie the Riveter. Act now, look at pinupsforvets.com. There's more than just the deck of playing cards that your soldier or loved one brought back from their deployment. They also have pillows, throw rugs, blankets, all kinds of things. Pinups for Vets, an amazing organization with some amazing people doing amazing things for our amazing soldiers. And amazing, I can't say amazing.
That was just amazing.
Pinups for Vets, ladies and gentlemen.
Hey, folks, listen, help us out here. Please subscribe to the channel. We're trying to grow. We're trying to reach that 1,000 mark. I don't know what it means. I guess it's probably something cool to somebody, but you know what? It's a goal. Help us out.
Yeah.
Comment, click like, subscribe, share with your friends. Tell everybody about it. Let's get them on board. The Not Nation. Lou, I will give you the last word, my friend.
Thanks for coming, everybody. It's always a pleasure. We'll keep up the content. We're still working on some of those side projects we've talked about. A lot of things on the horizon, and still bringing you some of the great content. So we really appreciate everything. Like Andy said, comment, click like down below, and support Pinups for Vets.
That's right. Oh, hit the little bell so you get the notifications when we go live.
Oh, that's right. Can't think of it.
Be a third caller. That's right. Call now.
Yeah.
All right, everybody.
9, live at 3 a.m. Virgin sacrifices, unrated time. We'll be doing that.
Again. We'll see y'all next week. Bye-bye.
You're listening to Nothing's Off the Table with Andy and Lou, an Admiral Media production podcast. All information at the time of recording is mostly accurate.